It really does depend on the asset class that you have invested in, what your overall outlook is as it relates to the ability for rent rolls, whether that's office leases, whether that's retail tenants, whether that's hotel stayers, visitors. What's your outlook as it relates to when we can realistically expect people to come back and start to use the asset? And then it's a very hard decision. Do you keep feeding the asset to get through these difficult times? Or do you just say, no mas, I can't do this? And that varies borrower by borrower, owner by owner, as it relates to how deep their pockets are and what they see as the opportunity on the other side. I do truly believe that we're going to start to get some clarity on these issues. Back to your comment previously of, the fall might not be too bad. Well, if you get to June or July and we start to see some real glimmers of hope as it relates to the economy kicking back up, and a lot of these people who talk about, the millions of people who went off payrolls coming back onto payrolls, well, that's going to play into real estate owners' psyche. It's going to say, hey, there's hope at the end of the tunnel. If you're in July or August and there's no sense that this thing's getting back up and going, it's going to be a very, very distinct outcome. And so it's very difficult right now because we are sort of in month 18 of the great financial crisis right now, with no ability to see whether it's a 24, 36, or 48 month crisis. And so that's where you start to get defaults, is when people sort of say, I fed it, now I can't do it anymore. And I think one of the real challenges here is the federal government and state governments need to really get a plan of action in place. They need to tell people, when are you going to get PPE widely distributed across the country so that people can actually interact with each other safely? When are you going to get testing across the country so that people know who has the disease, who has the virus, who has the disease, who's clear, who has antibodies against it? You get all that in place, and you're going to start to get the component parts of getting back to work in place. If they fail on that, and I would put forth, this is federal, state, and local, plus corporate America. I mean, corporate America has a role in all this stuff, and we want to do the best that we can to get our team back and going in a safe environment so they all can start working together and collaborate together and all that great stuff. But unless there's a game plan, people will lose faith that we're going to get this thing going. And so I would only put forth that that's really right now very, very much the next challenge for our government leaders is, are you going to do a works program? Are you going to build high-speed rail between Denver and Dallas? Are you going to, create some new interstate transportation system? Is the Acela finally going to be replaced by some high-speed rail between New York and DC, so that rather than taking 3 hours, it takes an hour and a half, and you get massive more commerce going there, and you do it in a public-private partnership. So it's not just the federal government that has an Amtrak that isn't making any money for anybody, but is actually owned by the private sector, and you put thousands of people to work on building a new high-speed rail system. There are a lot of infrastructure projects that need to get worked on that could jumpstart this economy if the federal government and local governments were to focus on it, and if they were to ask for private capital to come in and be their partners. I just read today that the president was purposefully not signing one of the stimulus bills because the U.S. Postal Service was looking for a bailout in it. They ended up getting the U.S. Postal Service $10 billion to push them through, but the U.S. Postal Service is losing $2 billion a month right now. $2 billion a month. Nobody wants our federal government to invest in businesses that are going to lose us $2 billion a month. And so do public-private partnerships, give away the upside to the private sector as you get this economy back up and going, where you're going to have long-term solid management. So those are all a lot of the question marks that I have. I think it's wildly doable if they put together some type of new deal, if you will. But they got a lot of work to do, because right now testing and PPE are both in very, very short supply and in high demand. And to be honest for you, nobody knows where to get it or when they're going to be able to get it. And so until they get that out there, people like me who want to write checks to buy testing, I want to buy masks, I want to buy gloves, I will do it. I have money to do it. I will do it. And to be honest with you, I have people who send me things, but I have no ability to do that right now. And so until that gets out there and until corporate America can start to invest in it, we can't even contemplate putting people back to work.